Okay, when you guys are ready, opening statements start now.
Okay. I believe that it's necessary for wild animals to be kept in captivity. Of course, not all of them should be caged up because they are wild, so they should be in the wild. However, statistics cannot be ignored about the decline in species populations when living in the wild. While the practice of locking up wild animals has some negative aspects, I believe the positives outweigh the negatives.
Okay, great. Nice overarching statements. Brittany, go ahead.
I believe that animals should not be kept in captivity because that is not where they were born or meant to be. Zoos are kind of just a place for public entertainment, for people to go to see animals. It has really no benefit to the animal itself. Animals who usually have wide open spaces and large environments to live and hunt in are now confined to cages that are nearly like 1,000 times smaller than their natural habitat. Zoos in urban areas, a place that is not a natural habitat for a wild animal, makes it not the right climate for them either. Captivity also prevents animals from learning and doing what comes natural to them, like hunting and creating bonds between like parents and babies.
Great. Okay. Back to Tia for 4 points.
Okay, so my first point is that humans are causing the destruction of entire species. Obviously, most people know it's wrong to hunt animals just for fun or to not use everything that they offer, like eating them for food or whatever. But there are people out there who do it for fun, and nothing really stops them from doing that. The population is decreasing at an alarming rate due to poaching. Animals need to be kept in captivity so they cannot be poached. My second point is that some people will straight up go out of their way to illegally kill certain animals. And one example is Cecil the lion. So he had a tracker inside of him, and he lived in a national park in Zimbabwe, and the University of Oxford were the ones who was tracking him just to kind of study him. And in 2015, Walter Palmer, who was a recreational game hunter, he paid $50,000 to a professional hunter guide to enable him to kill Cecil. Walter wounded him with an arrow, and then 40 hours later, the lion was killed with a rifle. Even a tracker for the lion wasn't enough to keep him safe and to keep people's eyes on him closer. So if he had been kept in closer captivity, he wouldn't have died because he was out in the open. And then my third point is that not only are animals being killed directly by people with guns or arrows, many species become endangered or extinct because their homes are disappearing. Humans tear down habitats like forests to use trees to build houses and whatever else humans build. And while yes, it is the humans' fault that these animals' homes are disappearing, we should be trying to provide homes for these animals because we just can't stop everybody. It's just going to keep happening. So we need some sort of solution. And yeah, that's just, I feel like that's the best thing we can do for them since their homes are disappearing. And my fourth point is that pollution and climate change are out of control. Pollution actually kills more than 1 million seabirds and 100 million mammals every year. There's an island of garbage twice the size of Texas inside the Pacific Ocean. There, the amount of floating plastic outnumbers all local marine life, 6 to 1. Sea level is rising, ice is melting, animals like polar bears are losing homes, as well as starving to death because we're also taking their food, we're fishing everything that's left. Having places like zoos will ensure animals have homes and are fed regularly.
Okay, great.
Now my point? Okay. My first point is that zoos are mainly just meant for people's entertainment. It can be argued, people do say that zoos can be used for educational purposes, but nobody really goes to the zoo to be educated on animals. They go to see wild animals that they wouldn't otherwise get to see like in their daily lives. A study was done at the Washington Zoo that showed that people spend around 1 minute per animal exhibit before moving on to the next, and I think that's not really worth suffering that the animal has to go through, just so you can look at it for a minute and then move on. And otherwise, people just spend their time eating, buying souvenirs, and then just ignoring the exhibits altogether. A real way to get educated about these animals is to watch them in their own habitat instead of putting them in captivity. My second point is that the habitats in zoos are much too small for the animals that they're put in than their natural habitats. A study in British zoos showed that elephants in enclosures were 1,000 times smaller than they actually should be. Due to these unfit environments, animals can cause psychological distress. Like if you've ever been to a zoo and you see like a bear or a tiger like pacing back and forth, it's because they're like stressed because of their small enclosure. In other cases with birds, their wings are clipped so they can't fly, which is something that they were meant to do, and that's wrong, I think. My third point, most zoos are in cities and largely populated areas with people, so majority of the time that's definitely not a natural environment for a wild animal. Animals that are meant to be in cold climates are moved to zoos in warmer climates, which aren't right, and because they're not meant to live there, and then vice versa. And it's just unnatural and can cause stress on the animal. And then my last point, captivity prevents animals from doing what comes natural to them. So like predators are prevented from hunting because their food is brought to them. Animals that need to learn to be social and learn social orders from when they're young, and or if they're born in captivity, they're brought into that, and if that bond can be damaged. No matter how well zoos can replicate that environment, it can never compare to like the real thing.
Great. A minute break before your open debate. Starts right away.
Okay, my first point was that about the poaching and like keeping animals, like saving them from that. But like, I think that maybe we should be like punishing the hunters more and putting down like more laws on that than just like throwing the animals in captivity and saying that's where they live now. That's not where they're meant to be. They're meant to be able to wild.
Well, I do agree with that, but it's not gonna happen instantly. We're not gonna fix that problem. Like, if that is a problem that can be fixed, it's gonna take a long time to do it. So, like, at least for a temporary kind of solution, we should be kind of just keeping them in cages or whatever.
I
Just,
agree with that, actually.
yeah. You mentioned, how the animals are kind of used for entertainment, but how people just kind of look at them for 1 minute and move on. I mean, like, zoos kind of are used for entertainment, obviously, but it's also their homes, their temporary homes, hopefully. So it's just kind of an added thing that they're kind of there for entertainment. But, I mean, I don't know, like, wild animals do need to interact with other animals of their own species, but at least when people are walking by looking at them or whatever, at least there's that sort of interaction. And sometimes animals do interact with the humans too, so it's not all bad in that way. Like, I agree that they should be interacting with their own species, but, I mean, there's only so much we can do for them.
Right, yeah, just like, but the interaction with humans too can be kind of damaging on them, because they're not meant to do that.
Yeah.
They can kind of like damage that. If they were meant to be released after, then they would kind of be like, not as wild as they should be.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, kind of the same thing with the environment thing, like trying to fix the humans' problems instead of just punishing the animals for it, I guess. But like you kind of already.
Yeah, there's just so much we can do with that. That's, like, I feel like we can't really do anything better than that, because we are trying. We're trying to get people to stop hunting and all that, so. Also, about them kind of being enclosed in a small area, it's like, it's not really like we can give them much more space. Like, it would be nice if they could have more space to run around and like be a wild animal, but in a place where you have a whole bunch of animals, like there's only so much space you can give them. And I think as long as they do have space to move around and there's something there that kind of gives them the illusion that they're in the wild, then that's probably the best that can be done for them.
It is the best, but yeah, like you can't compare it to like just them being out in their actual habitat.
Yeah. And you mentioned that often animals are put into cities where the climates are a little bit warmer than they may be used to. And I do agree that that's a problem. I think a solution for that would be to move them to areas where the weather and the climate is a little bit colder. I do agree that that should be something that's looked after. But again, like there should be reasons why they're being moved into that specific area. So even if it's flawed, then yeah, but almost. And instincts being hindered. I mean, like I know zoos do kind of try to like some places where if it's a lion or whatever, they'll drop animals that are alive and then the lions can go hunt them or whatever. Like that's the best they can really do for making sure they still have their wild instincts and everything, but you know.
30 seconds?
Just stare at each other.
Okay.
You're both very pretty.
Let's close the open debate. 1 minute break before we get to closing statements. Please now.
Yeah, okay. So animals are just simply not meant to be in captivity. They live like better and longer lives outside of captivity in their natural habitat. A study with Asian elephants showed that they lived 18 years in captivity compared to the 41 years that they lived out in the wild. The wild may seem cruel and captivity may seem like a safe place for them, but nature needs to take its course. Excessive human involvement in the food cycle has disrupted it greatly. Zoos and places that, like sanctuaries that keep animals, do care for them well and gives them the things that they need, but nothing can really compare to their natural habitat.
Okay. While I agree that animals should be allowed to be wild, humans are already destroying the planet for animals and ourselves. It would be more beneficial to keep them in captivity so they can live longer, healthier lives, and hopefully save some species from extinction. And I've actually seen some studies where animals in captivity live longer than they do in the wild. Also because there are vets and people who can treat animals if they're hurt or sick. So.
Good. Okay, thanks so much, you guys.